Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Ugh. Yes, I'm here. I'm here, and I think I have good enough internet to give you guys the live stream that you deserve, that I deserve, that we deserve until Starlink comes to save everyone around the world. And tonight is that night. This is the first launch of SpaceX's Starlink constellation. This is huge. We're kind of witnessing like the beginning of like the Transcontinental Railroad, or like this is like almost a Wright brothers moment in internet. Well, not quite maybe, but like maybe DC3, like a commercialization on a broader term and a broader scale than anything we're used to so far. So yeah, let's do this. I'm going to give you guys the pre-launch preview, as I tend to do at the beginning of these things. Look at this. This is a website called everydayastronaut.com. You can click on pre-launch previews here. You can see upcoming missions. You can click on them. They'll give you a timer. And we're going to do this rundown as we always do. Today is May 23rd, at least in the United States. It's the 24th if you're in like Europe and stuff. Hi, rest of the world. We have a 90-minute launch window today for this inaugural launch of Starlink. Ooh. So this is the Starlink launch. It's a constellation of 60 demonstration satellites that are kind of like the first stage of operational satellites for SpaceX's Starlink internet constellation. The launch provider is SpaceX. The customer is SpaceX. Now that is that's never really been done before that I know of, where a rocket launch provider is launching their own satellites that are all built in house. This is different. A Falcon. This is a Falcon 9 rocket. This is serial number 1049.3. Don't forget the period. .3 means this is the third flight of this particular core, this particular first stage booster of the Falcon 9. This is the third time it's flying, but the rest of it's just a serial number. So this has flown twice before. This is its third flight. That's always a good thing. This is taking off from Space Launch Complex 40, or Slick 40 as we call it. Remember, the SLC denotes that it's at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. If it was just LC-40 or LC-39A, it was really a launch site, that would be a Kennedy Space Center launch. So that would be at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. This one is not that. So, ta-da! This is at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. The payload mass is crazy heavy. This is 18.5 tons. That is by far the heaviest thing SpaceX has ever launched, and they're launching it on a Falcon 9 rocket as opposed to a Falcon Heavy, because this is only going to low Earth orbit of about 550 kilometers in altitude, so 341 miles for those of us metrically impaired. So that's that's obviously doable for the Falcon 9, but this will be very spicy. They will be landing this, They are attempting to land this booster, and they will be landing on, of course, I Still Love You, the Autonomous Spaceport Drone Ship, and they are landing it. This is the furthest downrange landing for a Falcon 9. The Falcon Heavy landed further downrange yet, but this is the furthest downrange for a Falcon 9, which just kind of helps you understand how energy intense and how heavy a big this payload is. So that's crazy. They are attempting to recover the fairings, but it will be splashing down. They are not using Mr. Steven to catch it. And they're using the Go Search and Go Navigator to go out there and pick up the fairings out of the ocean, similar to how they did for the Falcon Heavy launch. This will be the 71st flight of a Falcon 9 rocket, 40th landing of a first stage booster, 6th mission for SpaceX in 2019. And then of course we have this infographic from Jeff Barrett, and there we go. So, hi everybody. I am so excited to have a legit live stream here again. It feels like it's been a while, but I have a good reason why I haven't. Look at this, guys. This is what 50 minutes of an edit looks like. Basically, it's 48.5 minutes long is how long my Raptor video is. Now, this is kind of like, this is my, I'm going to say, this is probably, I'm going to peak after this. I don't think anything's ever going to be better than this in my life. I might as well just retire as soon as I publish this. I am still not quite done. I have a few finishing touches and a few just kind of tweaks here and there to make. But at the exact moment as I'm speaking, the video's done. I still have to, it will take like 6 or 7 hours to render because there's a lot of 3D After Effects things that have really intense things in them. So I'm going to have to render tonight. So if it's all done in the morning, I will upload in the morning, and hopefully by tomorrow afternoon, my time, you guys will finally have the most comprehensive video about SpaceX's Raptor engine, but not necessarily just the Raptor engine. It goes into the cycles, open cycle, closed cycle, including fuel-rich, oxidizer-rich cycles. It goes into the full flow stage combustion cycle. It goes into, we go into everything, guys. We go into why different fuel choices, including graphs showing you why methane, why RP1, why hydrogen are all their advantages and disadvantages. I also then line it up against all these other engines, the BE4, the RS-25, the Raptor, the F1, the RD-180, and the Merlin, and we really compare every metric you can imagine. We even compare their, I compared their dollar per kilonewton of thrust per flight. That's how in-depth we get on this. This is going to be the most in-depth video you ever will see about a Raptor engine, and probably about most rocket engines. And I promise, if you are like me, literally I've been working on this video since January, and before I did this video, I hadn't a sense of how engines worked. I understood them, but I really didn't actually, really get it. So this is finally, I finally do get it, and I take you through all the steps of how I got to my mental knowledge of knowing, oh, that's how it works. Oh, I get it now. This, all these little clicks. There's like 50 check marks that I had to make mentally in order to get to this point in this video. So you guys hopefully will have those exact same little light bulbs go off and those little check marks when you watch the video. Please sit down and watch it all the way through if you can. Otherwise, go back to watching it. It's a long haul, but hopefully you guys enjoy a long, in-depth video like this. I'm taking a huge risk by not splitting it up in 3 parts. I understand that's a little bit of a risk, but for myself, like, I want that. I want to tell the whole story and not have to rely on people watching part 1 and part 2 and all this stuff. I just want it to be nice and in depth and make sure by the end of the freaking video, you understand all of the reasons of why, how, what, when, where, etc., etc., etc. So I'm very, 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 very excited for it. That being said, yeah, how are you guys? Happy summer to some of you guys that are now done with school. I think it was a finals week for a lot of people, a lot of college kids. Happy summer. Hopefully we'll get new internet for you tonight. I don't know. If so, this will be an awesome, fun candle to light for summertime. Yeah. So how is the weather? It's great, Mark. Okay. So, I should show you guys this, a friendly reminder of what these fairings look like. This is the Starlink satellites. There's 60 of them, stuffed inside here. And it's my understanding that these will deploy, like these are spring-loaded, basically. The thing's going to pop off, and then they're going to flip them, and it's going to tumble off like a deck of cards or something. It's going to be nuts. Yeah, I don't think we'll ever have seen any kind of deployment mechanism anywhere like this at all. And just a friendly reminder of how big this fairing is. This is a car. This is the fairing. This is the same size fairing. That's nuts. I mean, these are huge. They're stuffed to the gills. Look at that. You could fit a school bus in that thing. And they basically have a school bus of satellites in there. So yeah, that's what we're going with tonight. I should show you guys this. We have had quite the tweet storm lately. Elon has been telling us so many facts, all under. This is a demo of what I've been working on for this Raptor video. This is the full flow stage combustion cycle engine. This is an animation that I made where it shows you how the turbines spin, how it spins the pumps, how they're fuel rich and oxidizer rich. And then, ta-da, they make the combustion chamber go boomy. And this started a whole thing where Elon's just going nuts on this. So it was like, talking about all this stuff. And all of a sudden, he keeps going, and he keeps dropping all these things like how it's going to have 6 engines now, the Starship, instead of, it went from like 7 now to 6. And we found out that, I got like the actual dimensions out of this. So there's going to be 3 sea level optimized and 3 vacuum optimized. And it sounds like it's going to be, so I go, is it kind of like this? And he gave me dimensions, approximately 2.8 meters in diameter for the vacuum. He's like, no. And by the way, he responded to this in 2 minutes, which is hilarious. And so I made an amendment to that. So this is about how the engines are going to look clustered. And these have 15 degrees of freedom for gimbal. The outer vacuum nozzles are locked down, no gimbal. They'll probably use thrust differential. I just thought this was really cool. I love when he just sits here and gives us an insane amount of facts and stuff. So if you guys are curious, be sure and follow me on Twitter. You'll get lots of stuff like this, but go through this. There is too much info to talk about in one sit down. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Aiden said to clarify with this, in our Discord channel, Aiden goes, to clarify the fairings, they don't have, a spring. There's not like a spring loaded like you'd normally have with a deployment mechanism, but there are these like prongs that are going to spring out, and then that will release them. It's this weird mechanism that's never really been used. The way a payload or a satellite is typically held on, there's kind of like they push a spring down and they hold onto it. And then when it's time to release, they let go of that, and that pushes, and the spring pushes the satellite. This does not have that, but it's held in place with these like retainer things, is my understanding, and kind of some speculation, but it sounds like these like retaining clips are going to fly off, and then it'll fall away like a house of cards or something. It'll be utterly nuts. So let's get to some of your guys' questions. So Derek, you met Mike C. Derek Bamorito. Met Mike C. at a conference this week, and we chatted about how awesome it is what you get to do over some shuffleboard. Keep up the inspirational work. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you. I like what I do, and I like being excited about this stuff, and I like bringing it to you guys. That's the best part of my job. Let's see. I'm going to make sure we don't blast your eardrums when the music goes live. Richie, that's a crazy timeline. Great work for me. It's lots of love from Australia. Well, hello, Australia. And I'm sorry that it is no longer, you're going into winter now. So everyone wish the Aussies and the New Zealanders and anyone in the Southern Hemisphere a happy winter. I wished everyone a happy summer, but I forgot about my friends in the Southern Hemisphere. I am a jerk. That's why. Paulo, thank you very much. And Rob Sonde, what do you think of Apollo at 50th? Of Twitter Apollo 50th? I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on that. I've been seeing a few things from Apollo 50. Probably need to follow it and pay more attention because this is the year of major things. Joey in our Discord brought up a little bit of stuff about Raptor is venting currently, or the Starhoppers is venting. Let me pull this up for you guys. Starhopper is currently venting down in Boca Chica, which is exciting. Let me do this, a little bit of this. Ta-da! Oh, make sure this, I hope this isn't L2. Okay, no. Just making sure this was public. I thought this was a Twitter. Sorry, Mary, this was the thing I meant to link to. This is Mary's Twitter at Boca Chica Gal. There we go. Starship Hopper is venting. They're waiting for the Raptor to arrive. I don't think Raptors, I haven't heard of it. It was supposed to be there by tomorrow, but I don't think that's going to happen. So hopefully the hops are still somewhat on schedule. It's not going to be hopping on the 28th. They're probably going to do, from my estimates, it seems like they'll probably do something similar to their other hop test where they did a whole campaign leading up to actual static fire and the little mini hop they did with the Starhopper. I think they're probably going to do something like, they're going to, do a full pressure test, then they're going to do a spin test, and they're going to do something because they have to replumb an engine. And there may have been little tweaks to this engine and some systems that they've done. So I'm sure they're going to do some incremental stuff. So although the road closes on the 28th, and that's what we know, that's what we're going off of, I do not think it's going to be hopping or doing any kind of flight on the 28th. So just keep your expectations in line, that hopefully we see it hop and do that stuff soon. And if you guys love me enough, I might drive down there and stream it for you guys with an even better setup, a way, way better setup than last time. So stay fingers crossed for me, guys. And if you want me to do that, let me know. I'll go down and cover it for you guys. I just really want to see a flying trash can fly. So yeah, it might be mostly selfish, my motives. Manalope in our Discord has a good question. How much is the Starlink service supposed to cost? We have no idea. And for a long time, the Starlink service will not probably be consumer viable. It'll probably be used for telecoms and other things like that where they can purchase and use bandwidth. And then eventually it might be someday, in 2-3 years where you could buy a Starlink receiver yourself at your own house and get your own data from that. But it'll probably be a long time before that's even remote possibility. I have no idea the cost, but I'm guessing they'll want to undercut a lot of people. And don't forget, guys, I need to make sure and remind you that if you want my weekly news, weekly me talking about this type of stuff, I do a podcast called Our Ludicrous Future, and it's available anywhere you listen to podcasts. But we also have a YouTube channel here. It's with Answers with Joe Scott, and Ben Solons from Teslanomics. I talk about all of this stuff that I talk about. You guys always want more content from me. Be sure and watch this or listen to this on your road trips and stuff. I've been having a ton of fun with these guys. We get really deep into some topics. I definitely talk way more randomly, kind of like this, where it's just more of a conversation instead of my produced videos. So if you want more content from me, may I recommend that. They have not started the live stream yet, so we'll see if perhaps it's underway still. Okay, so Ross, hello. Andrew Davies, hi Tim, watching from Tasmania, sweet. Love your work, thank you. How many satellites do you think the Starship will be able to launch in a single launch? Well, if we're talking about Starship launching Starlink satellites, oh man, I'm sure someone out there has done the math. Starship's internal volume is so much bigger than the fairing volume of a Falcon 9. But it'd probably launch, I don't know, I'm just going to totally make up a number. I would not be surprised if they could launch 500. The problem would probably be in being able to physically deploy 500 satellites. So I'm sure they're more limited on safely deploying. And even if it could only launch 60, if that's the limit of how many they can stack and do all this stuff, it'll still be cheaper to launch on Starhopper, or on Starship, sorry. There's so many stars. Starliner, Starhopper, Starship, Starlink. Ugh. It'll be cheaper to launch on Starship than it is a Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy. So just keep that in mind. So Quick in our Discord has a question about how the Starship deploys. How do they deploy it again? There's going to be kind of like a chomper device that goes like this, and it sounds like the payload deployment mechanism will kind of pitch up too. So it'll open like this, payload thing will kind of pitch up like this, and then shoot it out. Kind of like the space shuttle actually did that with like the TDRS satellites, where it would lift up the payload and then shoot it out like that. So I think, you know, the mouth of the Starship will open, and then a thing will poke up like this and pew, pew, like that. Probably a lot of pew pew sounds. So, yeah. Randy, hey Randy, thank you. Longtime watcher, long overdue contribution. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. That'll be, I was going to say that'll be gas money if I go down to Starhopper, but I won't have to pay for gas because unlimited supercharging in the Tesla. It'll be hotel funds and food funds. So thank you very, very much, Randy. Douglas, keep up the good work. Thank you very much, Douglas. Brett, thank you. Jared, what happens to the dispenser after deployment? The dispenser, so there's not really a dispenser from my understanding. There may be some springs or something that like falls away, and most of that stuff will deorbit relatively quickly. Don't forget, this is only a 550 kilogram circular orbit, so it's not very high up, meaning anything that is space debris at that altitude will come down within a month or two. But that is something I wonder, SpaceX isn't big into having any kind of debris. So I wonder if there actually will be anything that falls off, or if this springy type of thing will be like a thing that stays attached to the bottom or something. I have no idea. Hopefully we'll see it. They're supposed to live stream the deployment tonight, so hopefully we'll see it. That will be awesome. So get ready for that. The live stream will probably, SpaceX's live stream will probably be starting here in about 10 minutes. So stand by. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Daniel, thank you. You lacking cake. Thank you. I like that name. DJ D.I. Masick. DJ did Masick. Thank you. Brian, thank you twice. Paul Morris, Googling me $2 and now I'm giving it to you. Well, thank you, Paul, and thank you, Google. Thank you for passing it on. Thank you. The secret agent, how many horses named Mark do you think they could fit in those fairings? Well, if they're named Mark, clearly that means it's a that is a good thing. Okay, guys, SpaceX is apparently live. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it still. Is it on a different link? There's 2 links for Starship. Okay, here we are.
Minutes. This provides clearance for the Falcon 9 to lift off. As for the spacecraft inside that fairing, at T-minus 15 minutes, the Starlink spacecraft finished transitioning to internal power. The vehicle remains healthy and is currently tracking no issues for tonight's launch. The weather's also looking great. No issues with ground level or upper level winds today. No clouds or lightning rules to violate. The weather is looking fantastic for tonight's launch, and the range is also go and is prepared to support today's mission. Sweet. We can continue to count down to liftoff in just about 9 minutes. If for some reason we do have to call a hold on today's launch, we will have a backup opportunity for tomorrow, May 24th at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Don't you dare. All right, so hopefully we have no problems with bandwidth tonight. Look at this, and remember, guys.
Today, most satellite internet service comes from geostationary satellites, or geosatellites. These satellites these are satellites that sit at one point very high above the Earth and provide connectivity over a broad area. The main drawback of this setup is that you have a higher latency or delay in the signal provided because they're so far above the Earth. Satellites like this are also generally more expensive to produce and launch. Low Earth orbit satellites are much closer to the Earth and so have much lower latency or delay in their signal. The satellites are also smaller and less expensive to launch. Here you can see an animation that represents how the Starlink constellation operates. Again, you have a high number of satellites in constant motion covering all parts of the globe. And since they're so low to the Earth, that latency or the delay from the signal going from the ground to the satellite and back down to the ground is much lower than a geostationary satellite. We've learned a lot over the past year and have had a lot of fun testing out the capabilities of those 2 test satellites. We successfully communicated with ground stations to run 4K video and even play.
Because I think they're buffering on their end. Oopsies. How did I do that? What is going on?
Megabits per second of throughput.
So I'm going to give it like a 2-second delay. That way YouTube will buffer
over
through.
600 megabits per second of throughput to an aircraft in flight, which is super exciting for those of you who travel frequently. The bulk of our team working this project is based in Redmond, Washington, and watching today's exciting launch, as you can see on your screen right there. They're just as excited as we are in Hawthorne to see this rocket take off tonight. As I mentioned earlier in the webcast, this is our first launch of a production-designed satellite system as part of our effort to launch a next-generation broadband internet satellite constellation. This will be, fun fact, this will actually be the heaviest payload ever flown on a Falcon 9 rocket, weighing roughly 30,000 pounds. Each of those individual 60 satellites weighs about 227 kilograms or 500 pounds each. So while they're smaller than a typical communications satellite, they're still pretty sizable when you stack them all together. And that flat panel design maximizes space, allowing for a very dense launch stack, as you can see right on your screen right now, to take full advantage of that Falcon 9's launch capabilities. Starlink is also the very first Krypton-propelled spacecraft ever flown. Aside from being the native planet of Superman, Krypton also happens to be a nice blend of cost-effective and efficient propellant for ion propulsion. These ion thrusters enable the satellites to orbit raise, maneuver in space, and deorbit at the end of their useful life. The satellites also have a singular on-orbit solar array. This is one larger panel instead of two, which minimizes potential points of failure. Solar cells are standardized and easy to integrate into the manufacturing process. The Starlink satellites are also equipped with an autonomous collision avoidance system. To our knowledge, this is the first of any satellite constellation ever. The satellites use inputs from the Department of Defense's debris tracking system to autonomously perform maneuvers to avoid collisions with space debris and other spacecraft. This capability reduces human error, which allows for a more reliable approach to collision avoidance. In addition, 95% of all the components on the satellites are demisable, which means that when these satellites are at the end of their life, they will be naturally slowed by the Earth's atmosphere and ultimately be vaporized into dust as they re-enter. At 95% demisable, the satellites exceed current safety standards, and future iterative designs will go even further, shifting to a full 100% demisable material design. Also, while flying at a lower altitude of 550 kilometers, we ensure that the satellites will quickly and easily demise at the end of their life cycle. Once they reach the end of their life, the satellites will utilize their onboard ion propulsion system to deorbit over the course of a few months. In the unlikely event that a propulsion system becomes inoperable, the satellites will naturally passively decay because of atmospheric drag within 1 to 5 years, which is significantly less than the 25-year industry standard for low Earth orbit, or the thousands of years required if you're at a higher altitude. We are currently just about T-minus 5 minutes until liftoff. Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of its countdown. The first and second stages are both fully loaded, nearly fully loaded, with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. The first stage should finish prop loading at about T-minus 3 minutes, and the second stage will finish just after at T-minus 2. We're approaching that T0 mark quickly, so we'll listen into the countdown momentarily. At T-minus 60 seconds, be sure to listen in for the call-out that the Falcon 9 is in startup. This means that the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. The Starlink payloads in that fairing continue to be healthy, and the F9 team is currently tracking no issues aboard the rocket. Weather looks great for tonight's launch out of the Cape, and the range is green for launch. So with no issues, let's listen in to the countdown net for the final 4 minutes.
Well, looks like I am potentially experiencing some of my first delay, of course, right as we're getting closer to T-minus 0. That should come right back up here. I have no idea what that is. So anyway, let's answer some of your questions. Thank you guys for sticking with me. You can probably imagine my frustration when we get some lag, but we should be back. Everything looks good on my end again. Anyway, some fun reminders here. So notice the venting. That is, of course, I want to remind you guys, that's not smoke. That is condensation pouring off the rocket, because this rocket is like unbelievably cold at this point. It is. If you went up and touched it, your hand would like freeze off. You know, there's minus 207 degrees liquid oxygen sitting right here in this section. That's why, although it looks really white, that's actually ice. There's a ton of ice covering this vehicle right now because it is so stinking cold. So that's just nuts to think about. And then it's crazy to think while it goes to the atmosphere, it's going to get pummeled with heat. because, you know, obviously there's going to be compression, and compressed air around the vehicle will heat up and make the rocket get really hot on ascent, and then it'll get even hotter when it comes back down through re-entry for that same reason, and plus it'll be going in through the wake of its own exhaust, which is nuts. So yeah, definitely good call, Eric1 in our Discord. Do not lick the rocket. If you lick the rocket, you'll be very sad. But another fun note is, see this little line right here, how it's darker? That is where the RP1 is. And even though SpaceX chills their liquid fuel, RP1, they chill it down to around 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But it can't really get too much colder than that before it starts to sludge and get kind of, and that's not good. The turbo pumps don't want to push it around that much then. So, oh, there goes our, I wonder if there's like a correlation between when it's necessary, and I'm going to bump down my settings here just a little bit and see if this helps at all. Guys, I swear I had like text out here today. I really hope I can get you guys a solid live stream. If not, I really apologize. This is like #1 priority for me. I don't want to lose you guys. Let's see.
And Falcon 9 is on internal power.
All right. Look at all that. And that is, you know, these tanks, as they warm up, as liquid oxygen turns into gaseous oxygen, when it boils off and goes above, it's like 100 or minus 170 degrees Celsius, or 180 degrees Celsius, somewhere around there is the melting point, or the boiling point of liquid oxygen. It'll turn into a gas, it'll expand, and then, so if it expanded and they didn't have a way to vent it, the tanks would just rupture. So, sweet. So instead, they vent that liquid oxygen, and that's what you see occasionally pouring out through the interstage and a few other places, which is awesome.
Stage 2, press for flight. Go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
All right, guys, I'm going to listen in. I'm very excited. Oh, I have not confirmed pointy end up. I just don't know if I have the right tools right now to really determine pointy end up remotely. I mean, that just sounds dangerous.
T-minus 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'll make the call. I'll make the call. It is pointy end up,
10,
flamey end down.
9,
Let's see this baby fly.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Yes. Okay.
Go USS.
Yeah, baby.
Switching downrange.
Here we go.
Nominal. Pad operation securing. Step section 59 on LVNet.
It's already a mile in altitude for those of you that don't read metric very well. It's crazy. And it's just going to get faster and faster continually. Yeah, baby.
Power and telemetry nominal.
You are watching the Falcon 9 as it ascends through the
Falcon
atmosphere
9 is
carrying the
supersonic.
SpaceX Starlink payload of satellites. Coming up in just a few seconds here, the vehicle is going to be passing through max Q. That is the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle. Let's listen for that call out.
Vehicle is experiencing maximum aerodynamic pressure.
This is SpaceX's heaviest payload ever. 60 satellites at once.
The vehicle has passed through max Q, which means that the atmosphere is only going to get thinner from here on out. Coming up shortly at T plus 2 minutes and 35 seconds is going to be, or excuse me, T plus 2 minutes and 32 seconds is going to be MECO. That stands for main engine cutoff. That's when those 9 Merlin engines you can see burning on your screen right now will shut off or cut off. Shortly, only a few seconds after that, will be stage separation at 2 minutes and 35 seconds, quickly followed by SES1. That stands for Second Engine Start 1. That's when that single Merlin vacuum engine will ignite after stage separation.
Yes.
All telemetry looks nominal from that first stage right now, and trajectories look good.
I love how once it's in thinner and thinner atmosphere, you can see the exhaust plume of the rocket just get wider and wider and wider because there's not air pushing back in on that exhaust. It's weird to think the
The
air...
exhaust gases of those 9 Merlin engines expanding as it gets further and further up into the atmosphere. Stand by for MECO in about 5 seconds.
There's MECO. You can see stuff starting to kind of float.
Stage separation confirmed.
Yeah, baby. Okay.
You can see it on your screen, and you can hear it through the cheers of the crowd here at SpaceX headquarters, that we just had a good MECO, we had a good stage separation, and we had a good second engine start. That second stage is now burning brightly on the right-hand side of your screen, accelerating the Starlink stack towards its deployment altitude. On the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the view, a view of the Earth, actually, a beautiful view of the curvature of the Earth and all the lights of the eastern seaboard of the United States. That camera on the left-hand side is attached to the top towards the inner stage of the first stage. And on your right, you can see the fairing deploy from that Starlink satellite stack. The crowd here at headquarters cheering. I'm sure everyone up in Redmond is happy too.
Crazy. Oh, so far everything's looking fantastic.
So at this point in the mission, there are 2 things happening simultaneously. On the right-hand side of your screen, you can see that's the SpaceX Starlink stack right there, now exposed to the vacuum of space, that we've jettisoned that payload fairing from the top of the rocket. Right now you can see a view of the bottom of the second stage. That is the Merlin vacuum engine, currently burning brightly, doing its first of 2 burns to raise those satellites up to their deployment altitude of 440 kilometers above the Earth.
I guess I want to remind you, although they will be reusing
the next step for this second stage is going to be SECO-1. That's going to happen at 8 minutes and 47 seconds. But while that's happening, we'll be watching the first stage also coming back down towards the surface of the Earth.
This is not a reused fairing tonight. They will be reusing the Falcon Heavy fairing from Arabsat 6A.
This will be the 3rd time that we have attempted to recover this first stage, this particular first stage. Those of you who have seen previous landing attempts may notice that we are not doing a boost back burn today. This is because boost back burns are typically used to cancel out the horizontal velocity of a first stage as it goes away from the launch pad and then bring it back towards the Cape. For tonight, we're doing a drone ship landing on Of Course I Still Love You, so we just positioned the drone ship out in the Atlantic Ocean to catch it at the end of its trajectory. No need for a boost back burn here.
Crazy.
Without a boost back burn, the next step coming up for the first stage will be the entry burn at T plus 6 minutes and 23 seconds. The entry burn will last for approximately 20 seconds and then shut down. And then after that, we'll be heading towards a landing burn.
Everything's looking fantastic. Yeah, so this particular
all
fairing
telemetry looks good from that second stage.
Is
as
brand
it
new.
Continues to pick up speed towards that intended deployment altitude.
But they will be using the used fairing from Arabsat 6A on an upcoming Starlink launch, but it's not this particular launch. This is a new fairing. Whoa, Archduke.
So as I said earlier, the first stage is now about to start its entry burn at 6 minutes and 23 seconds. This entry burn is to slow that first stage down just a little bit before it hits the thicker regions of the atmosphere. You can see the camera on the first stage on the left-hand side of your screen right now. It's dark, but in a few minutes, those Merlin engines at the bottom of that first stage will light up, and there they go.
Entry burn has started.
Sweet.
That is the start of the entry burn.
Yeah, it's going to get a little bit blurry here. It's throwing soot right into the camera. and scorching.
And stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
Pretty short
And
entry
that's
burn.
it. That is the end of the entry burn. The next step for that first stage is going to be the landing burn.
Look at that. Oh, it's going to be
see some
spicy.
aerodynamic flows past those grid fins right now on the first stage as it gets into the thicker and thicker regions of the atmosphere.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Those grid fins help
Second
stabilize the
stage
first stage
continues
as
to
it heads
follow
back
a
down
nominal
towards the deck
trajectory.
of Course I Still Love You.
That's normal. The downlink, you can only lose that during that period of a lot of plasma.
Stage
that's
1
okay.
is transonic.
Also signal stage 1, Cape Canaveral, as expected.
All telemetry is nominal on the second stage as it continues to accelerate. Next big thing happening here is going to be the landing burn at T plus 8 minutes and 9 seconds, just about 30 seconds from now.
Okay. Here we go, guys. Only 30 seconds till it lands. That's always fun to watch. We'll see if they can provide a good
For those of you
downlink.
just joining us, we did have a successful liftoff at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral. The first stage was able to successfully separate and is now heading back for its third landing attempt in its history.
Stage 1 landing burn has started.
The landing burn has started as scheduled. We don't currently have video from that first stage, but stand by. We may
Vehicles
be
and
able
terminal
to get
guidance.
something from the drone ship.
Here we go. Landing time.
Landing burn started at 8 minutes and 9 seconds, and the landing is scheduled
Landing legs are
for
deployed.
8 minutes and 30 seconds, just about now. You can
Stage
tell that here at
2
SpaceX
ASDS
headquarters we
descent.
haven't yet gotten any video from the drone ship, but we're just waiting for confirmation.
And this is recovery. Falcon 9 has landed. Landing operators moving to procedure 11.100 on recovery 1 and ECF 9.
That's a good sign.
While we're waiting for that, we are expecting SECO to happen shortly. That is second engine cutoff.
There we go. Second engine cut off. That's good. And apparently it landed, so we can kind of
It
celebrate.
sounds like we may have confirmation that the first stage has landed. That is a shot from Of Course I Still Love You of the first stage of the Falcon 9 rocket for its third landing.
That's crazy.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
Always great to see those first stages come back.
I love it.
While that was happening, we did have our second engine cutoff 1.
Crazy.
That's the end of the second stage's first
Acquisition
burn.
signal in the firmament.
And we did have confirmation of a good orbit for that second stage. Right now, we're about to enter a coast phase, so we are going to take a quick break, but we're going to leave you with an animation that shows where we are in the coast phase. We will be back at about T plus 45 minutes into the mission for a second stage relight, followed by another short coast phase, and then payload deploy. Hopefully we'll be able to bring that deployment to you live on the webcast, so we will see you back here in about 35 minutes. Don't touch that dial.
All right. Well, we can answer a few questions. Congrats first off so far. This is important. They do want to definitely be able to land this spicy of a mission. Again, this is the heaviest payload that they've ever launched on a Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy for that matter. The Falcon Heavy hasn't launched anything that heavy. It's put things up into a much more higher energetic orbit, like past Mars, and into a geostationary transfer orbit that was even higher energy than a standard one. So the Falcon Heavy, of course, has more power, more delta V potential, but this is actually the heaviest payload they've ever put into space. They didn't need the Falcon Heavy for it because it's going to such a low orbit. It's only 550 kilometers. It doesn't take nearly as much energy to do that as it would be to put, say, this same payload up into, say, a geostationary orbit or out to Mars. So that's why they could do this, and it's obviously as cheap as possible. When they're using, here, I'll go like this. It's as cheap as possible for them when they are using a Falcon 9 as opposed to the Falcon Heavy. Obviously has more operational costs, and they're clearly at the peak volume efficiency of the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy fairings. And I talk a lot about that. Like I mentioned, I have that podcast called Our Ludicrous Future. I talk a lot about why don't they just make the fairing bigger. There's a lot of good reasons. So if you want to know why they don't just make the fairing bigger, go back to episode 34 of Our Ludicrous Future. Have a listen. I talk about it for like 10 minutes. So you can definitely learn all about it there. We've had a lot of really good questions. Quick in our Discord does ask if they've landed a first stage 3 times before. Yes, they have. I think it was like 1048, I think, has landed 3 times now. I think. Someone correct me on that. I don't remember which one, but yeah. And they will probably refly this booster. All right, let's answer some of your questions here on YouTube as well. A friendly reminder, if you guys want to join our exclusive Discord channel, consider becoming a Patreon, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. Your money, that when you guys support me, goes into me doing, I don't know, 3 months worth of research, scripting, shooting, editing, animating, infographics for a 50-minute documentary about the Raptor video that's upcoming. It also helps me be able to afford to go down to, say, see Starhopper or upcoming launches. It makes sure that I'm constantly upgrading equipment, trying to tackle little gremlins like this freaking internet, and all sorts of other things. So if you do want to support what I do, consider becoming a Patreon. That's patreon.com/everydayastronaut, where you can enjoy perks. Most of my Discord has seen like almost the entire Raptor video in segments now, because I keep showing them parts and then they give me feedback, and then we make the video better and better and better. So if that's your type of thing, definitely consider becoming a Patreon. Patreon.com/everydayastronaut. Okay, so the secret agent had probably the most important question of the evening. How many horses named Mark do you think they could fit in those fairings? Well, obviously horses that are named Mark are stronger and more handsome than those named so probably 6. I think 6. Craig Clausen, Craig obviously listens to our Ludicrous Future, where we do Craig, why don't they just use the normal client launches and deploy them as a free ride? So Craig, you're asking, why don't they just use, like, when a customer is launching? The crazy thing about Starlink is it's going into a really particular orbit. Every single satellite will have to go into this really particular orbit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And in order to ride share, you actually have to develop if you look at how the Ariane 5 is stacked, the Ariane 5 can do ride sharing. So will New Glenn can do ride sharing with geostationary birds, where they put like a big giant, it has almost a fairing inside the fairing, because you have to sit, the satellites can't sit on top of each other. Satellites aren't, especially a commercial satellite, it's not going to have the ability to handle all that load through the satellite itself. So they have to put like a separate little fairing, almost like in Kerbal Space Program, like that structure, lattice structure thing that holds onto it. They would have to do that. And the ride sharing just doesn't make sense. They want to maximize and use, the particular orbit and all the volume of the fairing in order to get as many satellites up at once. And since the only cost to them really is the operations, the pad operations, all the, ground stuff, they're only throwing away the upper stage, which is, we could maybe assume around $5 million. I have no idea. Something around there, which is $5 million to launch 18, probably plus another 5 in operations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll say $10 million. $10 million to launch 18 tons is unheard of. It might be cheaper than that. I don't know their actual costs, but that's why they're going to be able to put up a global internet constellation way cheaper than anybody else. Way cheaper. They would charge someone else, $60 million for this exact service. So they can get their satellites up there for 6 times cheaper than anybody else. Yeah, they're doing okay. It's pretty nuts. So, okay. Great question, Craig. Rick, here's almost $20 for the road trip to Rio, the Starhopper, and say hi to Maria. Well, thank you very much, Rick. I do plan, I didn't really want to make it public in case I can't go down to see Starhopper do its first real hop. I do plan to try. That is my intention. I'll be hanging out on South Padre Island. So if you happen to if you are down and wanting to go on a vacation, probably not next week. I'm guessing, I don't think it'll happen by the end of the month, but maybe say you're going down to South Padre Island at the beginning of next month-ish. You know how this stuff is. Say hi. Come say hi. I'll be hanging out there. South Padre is actually really cool. So I'll let you guys know what my plan is. So thank you very much, Rick. Nathan, thank you. Justin, thank you. Nick, I can give you money this easy. Dangerous. I know. It is frighteningly easy. Every time, if some of my friends, are like Joe Barnard from BPS Space, if he's streaming, it's just, I'm like, oh God, I just can't help it. So I know how you feel. And thank you. Roadrunner, how are you? Thank you. Leaf, stream is live. Thank you. I figured it out. That was weird that they had like a secondary link. I had an old link for some reason. I don't know how that happens. And thank you guys for bearing with me. I think the gremlins are pretty well worked out. I love that now it's like perfect, but yeah, for the past, who knows? I've had this, by the way, I stress tested my network earlier today. I pulled up 6 1080p live streams. A couple of them were 1080p 60 frames per second. And I pushed out my data at 2 times the normal bit rate. Had it solid for 2 hours straight. And then, of course, once we're actually live and it matters, we get that weird choppiness. So please, please, please bear with me. And thank you guys for sticking around. It always means a lot. So Leah, thank you so much. And Rick, thank you very much. And Achpuchli, love your work. Dude, I forgot your name. I'm Tim. Hey. Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. That's me. Yeah. So thank you very much. I like that. Ian, greetings, Tim. No questions here. Just here with your lady and excited about the launch. Hope it happens. And it did, Ian. We did it. I didn't do anything, but they did it. They knocked it out of the park. You're welcome, Ian. Lennart, greetings from Sweden. Keep up the good work. Thank you. And hello, Sweden. Let's see. Oh, I lost it. Oh, no. I hate when this happens. Where'd it go? Okay, Steven says, can't get enough quality information about SpaceX. Either can I. Period. I can't get... I definitely have to say one of the reasons why it's easy to be a fan of SpaceX in particular as an aerospace company is because they're constantly telling us new stuff. So I know that's definitely not the industry normal, but if you happen to work at, say, another aerospace company, it's easy to get the public excited when you're constantly updating people with your plans and with your aspirations. So just a word to the wise. I know not everyone can do that, but it's really fun for all of us lay people to be able to join along in the fun. So Eric, thank you. Soumya, thank you very much, Soumya. And Brock, hi. Eric, hi. Thank you. Texas Outlaw, thanks for what you do. You're welcome. Texas Outlaw. And Mark, thank you. Mike, if your stream fails again, I'm driving down and setting up a bonded redundant connection for you. The funny thing is I do have a bonded router solution with a live view backpack where it's 4 bonded routers. I might have to that might be an option. I wonder if I can bond data while I'm doing live streams like this through my phone hotspot too. If you are you do this type of stuff for a living, the problem is that is only uplink, my bonded live view unit. If you know of a good way to be able to pull in through Ethernet, one connection, and then maybe say plug in my phone as a hotspot for another bonded connection that can still upload video, because that's the problem. You can't lose bits, packets through video without some really cool solution. So if you have a good solution for that will make sure I have a redundancy, some kind of data fallback in these events, please hit me up. I would love to know your solutions if that's what you do for a living. You can find my contact information on my website, everydayastronaut.com. So thanks, Mike, for offering to help. Rumila, thank you very much. And let's see. And Dunder, Maine, when are you moving your office to Rocket Road, Tim? The reference to Rocket Road is SpaceX's headquarters in Hawthorne, California, is on Rocket Road. I have no intention of ever working for anyone else, for anybody else but me. I really, 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 really like what I do. I love that I can talk about all different aerospace companies. I love that I can sit and research stuff for months and months and months and get information. I love it. It's awesome. I have the freedom to be able to go down and see Starhopper, go down and see a Falcon Heavy launch, or a week and a half ago, I went and saw Blue Origin's factory or headquarters in Kent, Washington. I went and saw Blue Origin Jeff Bezos announce their Blue Moon plans. I love what I do. I just have total freedom, which is amazing. And I love making videos. I love scripting and researching. I love making animations and infographics now. That's become a big part of my job, which I never thought it would be, but I am really, really, really enjoying it. So I will not ever be moving my desk to Rocket Road. But thank you though. Brock, hello, and thank you. Tyler, our ludicrous present. I see what you did there. I like that. Primus81, thank you very much. Kevin, hi, how are you? And Brett, hello. The Rich Father, that's a fun name. Thanks for the stream tonight, Tim. You're welcome, The Rich Father. James Hansel, keep up the great work. Thank you, James. That means a lot. I'm trying, and I can't tell you how unbelievably excited I am to get this video out to you guys. I know I talk about it all the time. I know I've been talking about it for months. Like I said, I started the script for the Raptor video in January. in January I started that script. I really started researching it in March, like really heavily going down the nitty gritties, and have been working on it ever since, like basically full time. I've taken some trips, which always kind of interfere a little bit, but I've been like working on the planes and animating and editing on a plane and editing on the road and shooting on the road and everything. So thank you. Like I said, I do really enjoy my work. JP Stone, thank you. Colton Mass, do you think we will ever see a super heavy, a triple Starship booster? No, I do not think so. So you're referring to like a Starship that would be made out of 3 super heavy boosters, like a Falcon Heavy. The reason why I don't think so is they learned the lesson the hard way that it's actually really difficult to make a heavy configuration by just strapping 3 rockets together. It's not as easy as it seems, and the way they're going, they're not going to be road transporting stuff anymore. That was one of their big things, is being able to road transport the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. These are limited to 3.7 meters, 12 feet wide each core is. And because of that, they've been able to transport them over the road without any crazy road closures and stuff. It is an oversized load, but it's not like a super oversized load or anything. So that's been a big design consideration. And now they've ditched that and they're just like, hey, we'll just build huge freaking skyscrapers in a field. I think they know now the answer is to make it bigger in any dimension rather than trying to strap on boosters. You can, unless you're doing fuel cross feed, it definitely is more advantageous to make a physically larger rocket. Yeah, that's what I think. JP Stone, thank you. Raphael, gotta love modern technology. Yeah, seriously, rockets, they definitely the pinnacle of human creation at this point. JP Stone, thank you very much. Robert, thank you. Michael and Simon, thank you. Russell, thank you. Buran, thank you. You're welcome. Drew, thank you. Derek, keep up the good work. I'm trying. Thank you. Dan, 100 of these launches to get the whole system up. Yeah, we're going to see about 100 Falcon 9 launches in order to get... Well, the system will be operational moderately after a little over 400. So there's only going to be about 6 more launches before it's semi-operational. And then another 400, just over 800 and 840 or so. At that point, it'll be more operational and maybe be able to actually sell some of the services if everything's going well. And then after about 1,200, they'll have pretty great coverage. And the more satellites they add, the more bandwidth you gain, the better coverage you gain too. So they'll just continue to expand on their constellation and make it better and better and better. But hopefully it won't take nearly that many launches. Hopefully within a dozen, maybe a little more than a dozen, maybe 2 dozen will actually have proper operational services. But that still probably won't be to consumers. That probably won't be to you and I right now. It'll likely be... That won't be available for probably after there's well over 1,000 satellites. But yeah. All right. Yeah, good question though. Share, thank you. Jeff, your love of space stuff is contagious. Keep doing what you do. Well, thank you. Space stuff is contagious, so hopefully not too contagious. Hopefully there's not like some kind of bacteria that'll wipe out all of humanity. But hopefully it's the good kind of contagious. Thank you, Jeff. Russell, with Block 5 reuse ticking up, is SpaceX going to start using names rather than serial numbers for their vehicles? I don't know. That's a really good question. Some of that feels... SpaceX is big about naming things and giving things a little bit of character, such as the drone ships. And he's talked about naming the first operational Starship as, or at least the one going to Mars, Heart of Gold. Elon has. But I don't really know. I would like to see them start naming them, although I almost have a better time with numbers myself rather than names. I kind of start losing track of names. Like, to me, it's hard for me to distinguish between the 5 operational space shuttles. It just gets a little hazy between the 5 different names. I would have almost rather them have a serial number. I probably would have done better with that myself. But good question, Russell. We'll see, I guess. Ethan, hey, yo, you going to be out in the field covering the 3rd Falcon Heavy launch? I'll be going out there for your very first launch. Hope to see you. Ethan, I have some bad news. I don't know. I don't have any plans for the Falcon Heavy launch. I'll be probably on the West Coast. I might be going to Providence, Utah to see Northrop Grumman do a test of their Omega booster engine. And I might also be attending a launch at Vandenberg maybe. we'll see. It's going to be a very busy month, so I don't have plans for the next Falcon Heavy, but I'll hopefully be streaming for you guys like this or something, but probably not going to be attending it in person. So, but thank you, and good luck, Ethan. You'll have a great time. I promise it'll be awesome. Launches are so fun to see in person. They might change your life, so be careful. Jatton, you are the man. Appreciate everything you do. Well, thank you very much. Ryan Gordon, thanks for all you do to energize people about space. Here's for Starhopper Hotel Fund. Thank you very much, Ryan. That's very, very nice of you. Thank you. Yeah, I'll stick around. I'm trying to time it so I don't waste time on the front end of the testing, so I don't sit down there for 5 days waiting for them to get ready for testing. But if I'm down there and they're starting to test, I'll stick around until it hops. Up to I don't know, after a week of being on South Potter Island, that might be pushing it for me, but I'll be working on other videos and other projects while I'm hanging out anyway. So I'll stick around for you guys. Don't worry. And I'll be taking a 1200 millimeter equivalent lens. So that's like a, 24x zoom on this camera, actually, because this one can run operationally. It's a micro four thirds 4K camera. So I'll be recording in 4K, probably not in 422. I'll see if maybe I can do 4K 60. That'd be amazing. I don't know what exactly that Blackmagic recorder thing can do, but I will try my hardest to bring you guys the best possible coverage. I might even rent a bigger, fatter lens and really try to do something awesome, but we'll see. So thank you, Ryan. Stephen Craig, say my name. I appreciate you. Well, hi, Stephen. Stephen, there you go. Hernan, have some pesos before they lose more value. Well, thank you, Hernan. Marco, love your videos. First time supporter and first time questions. So is this the most amount of satellites launched in a single launch? No, Marco, that record goes to India. ISRO launched 104 CubeSats, probably about 2 years ago now, year and a half ago. And watching them deploy is they just were constantly shooting them out. It was really crazy to see. So I think that holds the record at the moment of 104. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody. Yeah, good question, though. Thank you for the tip, too. Doctor Who, how did Elon solve the BFR landing legs problem? Well, I don't know if we have that information yet. I don't know if we know the landing leg architecture of BFR/Starship. Let me put it this way, guys. BFR and Starship is a science experiment at this point. It is if you haven't noticed, things constantly are changing. Every time you ask Elon something, it's the plans change. And I learned something. We were talking about this again on Our Ludicrous Future. There's definitely something that's being instilled in the culture at SpaceX that they don't take, how some people they get really stubborn and they almost take pride in never changing and being steadfast and nope, I said I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. In the real world of engineering, that's not necessarily a good thing. You should let data and your what you're learning shift and shape your attitude and your outlook and your future plans. I mean, even in your personal life, I had to make many changes all the time to career paths and schooling paths and different things. And maybe it's the personality trait for me, but I'm not that kind of person. I said I'm going to do it. Well, I am in some ways. But data and new information can definitely change and shape your plans. And SpaceX is clearly, literally doing that every single day, basically, with Starship and Starhopper and the Raptor engine. Now, the main thing that you don't really want to change is the Raptor engine. Once you get that figured out, once you get it in there, you get data on Starhopper, you see how it's flying around, you see how you fuel up, you learn how it, now you spin the pumps at this amount, we can throttle it to this. Okay, that looks pretty good. Ooh, but we learned this. So actually, why don't we change our plan to do this? And if you give yourself that wiggle room to make changes, you're not trying to fit your system onto a pre-designed system. And this is not, that is the very traditional way, when you design, say, a Saturn V back in the 60s, you had to know what you're building before you sent all the plans out to the contractors. And by the time those plans are in the contractors' hands, you better know what you sent them. And SpaceX, since they kind of do things more on the fly, they literally are changing and iterating every single step of the way. So that is unusual. So that being said, I don't know if they have even a plan for landing legs yet. They aren't even to that stage yet. They're probably thinking about it, but they're literally going step by step, which is just very unusual. Yeah, sorry, very long question. Neil Price. Hey, that's my really, really good friend, Neil Price. I would actually say Neil might be, I don't want to say best friend, but he's tied for like best friend. I mean, we've been friends, Neil, for how long now? Way too long. Neil's one of my best friends, easily one of my best friends. I don't think I have a best friend. Neil's up there. Hello, Neil Price. Everyone say hi to Neil. So anyway, Kaliko, Tim is just awesome. Thank you very much. Drew Pock, love the podcast. Why don't you guys just chop up your podcast into segments? Keep the entire podcast available, but also chunk it up into segments for quick viewing, like Joe Rogan's. Drew, you're right. We thought about doing that. Ben used to do that on his channel, on his Teslanomics channel. He would do a 1 hour live stream, chop up all the news segments into separate videos. And I don't know. That's just more work for our editor to do. We do hire an editor. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it in the long run. It can make for kind of a clunky segment and clunky intro and outro. I don't know. My other answer is like you can always just listen to it and then like pause or fast forward or skip or whatever. But I get what you're saying. It would be nice to be able to be like, oh, an article about Starship. And I know for sure, like if we just named each video, we'd probably have better views because our video titles are like a bunch of things as opposed to like, I went on a 30-minute talk all about Starship last week or Starlink and a Starship this week. You know, like I go into really depth things on the podcast. They'd probably do really well if we just did the title, but I don't know. I don't really think we have any plans for that at the current moment. So, but thanks, Drew. 3D Fix, holy cow. 3D Fix, thank you very much. Have some beers with me while you're down there, bud. Keep making awesome content. Did we ever figure out what pad they're going to launch Starship on that won't get shreked from all 31 or 20 / question, whatever number of engines Elon decides that boy should have this week? First off, 3D Fix, thank you very much for your generous tip, but also thank you for the amazing question. I don't think they actually know yet. I think if you watch the development down at Boca Chica, the launch pad down there, it's literally like, it's literally changing like by the day, the pad itself. So I don't even think they're even designing or knowing for sure. They've constantly said that they're going to do 39A. You know what I would like to see? I would like to see them rent 39B because that is meant for commercial partners. How cool would it be if they use both 39A, 39B, and 40? I just think that'd be really cool. 39B is a pretty beefy pad. It can handle SLS. It's been upgraded. Nice, clean, empty architecture. That'd be really cool. I don't know. I don't know if I definitely don't know. And maybe they know. Maybe they don't know. But thank you very much, 3D Fix. Everyone say thank you to 3D Fix. That's very, very, very generous. Dylan, how long until the satellites deploy? Also, you are the man, Tim. Well, thank you. Dylan, we're coming up on, they said they're going to do, in 10 minutes from now, basically, they're going to do a second engine burn, and then another, like 15 minutes after that, they'll do the satellite deployment. So we're looking at probably about 10:30 my time, 11:30. That would be 11:30 Eastern, which is where they launch from, and that would be 4:30, I think. 3:30 UTC, I think. I don't know. Add 25 minutes to right now. Yeah. Yeah. Corey, thank you very much. Schwig, have you tried virtual reality? Apollo 11, try it. I have tried some virtual reality, and I have tried Apollo 11 at Yuri's night earlier this year, and it's really, really cool. Okay, Mosley89, and thanks, Schwig. Does SpaceX plan to go to the moon? Have anything like Blue Origin's moon lander in the works, or is Starship supposed to carry people with cargo? Mosley, I think you answered your own question at the end there. I believe SpaceX, their only plans for the moon, and it might seem ridiculous, and I think people aren't taking it very seriously because it's like you plan, wait, we're talking about landing like a 20-ton lander on the moon. You're talking about landing an entire spaceship, like an entire freaking rocket on the moon, in a sense, the upper stage portion, and it might be hard to understand. It's a very different thing, but they're like, yeah, that's our plan. That way we can reuse the vehicle and it won't cost you. It'll be cheaper for you if we launch Starship to the moon than if you were to launch an expendable vehicle on a special moon lander. We'll just do it using Starship, and it might take some convincing, but yeah, we'll see. That's kind of what I think. which is really cool. So that's what I think. Robert, oh man, what happened here? Where did that go? Joe Bernard is crazy, but he handles explosives, so I'll never tell him. You are harmless and great fun. Robert, I really like that comment. It took me a second Joe Bernard is crazy, but he handles explosives, so I'll never tell him he's crazy. You're harmless and great fun. Well, thank you, Robert. That means a lot. Yeah, dang, that's fun. Corey, thank you. Jenny, thank you. Mike, New York City, hello. Todd, why does the speed slow after Seco in space? Great question. If you notice, occasionally, and it probably is still slowing down here, it's actually because the rocket at second engine cutoff, and really any time basically, most missions, is still going uphill. So it's increasing in altitude. And if you've ever played Kerbal Space Program, the higher your altitude, it's just literally like going uphill. You're literally going uphill. And then once you get to your highest point, you're literally falling back downhill. You're falling back towards the Earth. So if you're going up, your altitude's increasing on your orbit, then at the top point it will be your slowest point, and at the bottom will be your fastest point. So when they stop burning, they're normally at the lowest point, and they set it so that they're going to now do a burn at the proper altitude. Here we go. We just got an update of telemetry here as we're talking about this. That's funny. So the telemetry did get updated. It appears to be live now. So they had a blackout period because, as you can tell, they're literally in the middle of nowhere. We do have the data back. Okay, so watch. If it's going up, if the altitude is going up, the speed will be decreasing. So that is the case. That's physics, and that's very predictable. That will never be wrong unless there's an issue with the way it's like being read. But physics dictates that if it's going up in altitude, it is going to be going slower and slower and slower until it gets to its highest point, its apogee, apoapsis, and then falls back down. There you go. Here we go. Great question, Todd. Nitro reviews. Tim will never move from Iowa because that's where they will be building construction class starships in the future. Maybe I'll have to start my own how to build a rocket college here in Iowa, and then you guys can come here and hang out. I don't know. You're right. I probably will never move from Iowa, but it's fun to think about. Lucas, thank you. Kevin, thank you. Quan, 1996. Does Blue Origin have any plans for launches in the near future? So Kwai, it's hard to... Blue Origin's a sleeping giant. Trust me when I say they're going to do some very big things, because for now you're just seeing their New Shepard hop around, and that's it's a suborbital launcher. They're going to be putting people up on it. But you need to think of New Shepard as literally a development vehicle that is paying for itself eventually. If they can even recoup the cost or profit off of a development vehicle like New Shepard, that's like the ultimate thing. So they've learned how to build the BE-3 engine. They've learned how to throttle. They've learned how to develop algorithms for landing. They've learned how to, handle atmospheric reentry and X, Y, and Z, develop avionics. They've learned all that for New Shepard. And then that can be applied to their New Glenn vehicle, which is their upcoming vehicle. So in 2021, they're going to be launching a vehicle that will make Falcon 9 look tiny. It's 7 meters wide. It's almost in size similar to Starship and Starship Super Heavy, but it is technically in the heavy class launch vehicle. It's not a super heavy vehicle. I still get questions every day on YouTube. Hey, why didn't you compare Starship to New Glenn? And I did a video about New Glenn. If you want to know what Blue Origin's up to, watch my video titled "Is New Glenn Will New Glenn be the king of heavy lift launch vehicles?" And people still literally every single day will say, "I can't believe how biased this is. You didn't talk about Starship or BFR in this." Okay, I described it like 3 times in the videos. First off, Starship is in a different class. That is a super heavy launch vehicle. It's a different class of rockets. Just like you don't compare a Honda Civic to a Honda Accord. Those are different classes of vehicles. You wouldn't compare a Cessna to a 747. Different types of vehicles. These are different classes of vehicles, literally. And beyond that, all the vehicles that I compare in this video, in that particular video, is dealing with vehicles that all have Air Force contracts or are bidding on Air Force contracts. So that's it's a direct comparison of literally vehicles in the same class vying for the same contracts that have Air Force contracts. So in my opinion, that's like the most clear and fair way to compare. And people were like, but they don't have any hardware. You know, you're talking about a paper rocket. Well, in that same sense, so is Vulcan, so is Omega. These are vehicles that are in development. It doesn't mean they don't exist. They're just in development. Yes, so is Starship. Of course, Starship's in development. Of course, Starship, I think, is going to fly really soon. It might fly before those other vehicles. I think it will actually fly before those other vehicles. But it doesn't mean it's still in the same class and still needs to be compared. Sorry, that was a really long Blue Origin rant. But definitely check that out. That video is one of my favorite videos I've ever made. So I hope you enjoy it. Dylan Kratt, are they still attempting a fairing recovery? Yes, but for now they're just plucking them out of the water. But they do have new arms back on Mr. Steven, their fairing catching boat. So when they do catch a fairing, I will have a t-shirt ready for you guys that I've been waiting to have for like 6 months. I wanted to have a Mr. Stevens dedicated shirt. And don't forget, when I do shirts, when I have shirts in my web store like these are no longer print on demand. I do runs of t-shirts, so they're higher quality and last longer, and the print is better and doesn't come off in the wash like a lot of print on demand things. So I will do a run of a Mr. Stevens shirt when that thing launches. So stay tuned. That will be happening. Hopefully, as soon as it catches a fairing, get ready for a Mr. Stevens shirt. There you go. And thank you, Dylan. Mosley89, is this solely SpaceX project or are there partners? This is solely SpaceX in-house development, in-house manufactured, and they're going to run the constellation themselves too. So, yeah, it's pure SpaceX. Great question. Medic North, thanks for the awesome work. My question is about the exclusion zone for Of Course I Still Love You. How far are support crews and how fast can they get to the drone ship? Great question, Medic North. I think the exclusion zone, even for crew members, so non-crew members, non-essential personnel, like shipping lanes and things like that, had to be a ways out. There's a really big exclusion zone that you can see on, what are those things called? NORADs or whatever it's called. Yeah, I can't remember what that's called. There's a notice of, NORAD, not NORAD, what is that? A NOTAM, there we go. A notice to airmen, which shows the huge exclusion zone for airplanes and ships. But the crew are about 16 kilometers-ish away, and they can get there, I don't know, say you're going, they can probably get there in 15 minutes after it lands, 10 minutes maybe. I have no idea, but I think it's about 16 kilometers. I believe it's about 10 miles. So it is a ways out. It might be a little closer now, maybe, but they have to be a decent amount of ways away so that if there is a problem with the booster, they aren't in line of it at all. So, Tim Botron in our Discord wants to know if I have any plans for an Apollo 11 shirt. I have many plans for Apollo shirts. Don't you worry. My web store, guys, is going to get a huge update really soon. Lots of stuff coming, like almost as big of an update as I had last fall. Lots of new merch. You're going to love it. So get ready. Let's see. Diamond Q, love watching the videos you make. You make space even more exciting than it is. Well, thank you, Diamond Q. That's awesome. I like space, and I'm glad that you like it too. Ooh.
Just joining us, we did have an on-time liftoff from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. After that, the first stage was able to take the second stage up into the atmosphere and then return for a third time on the deck Of Course I Still Love You. All the while, the second stage was able to complete its first burn, and it is now just about to start its second burn. We have two events coming up here, one at T plus 45 minutes and 56 seconds. That'll be SES-2, or Second Engine Start 2. This is the second of two burns that the second stage will be performing before deploying the payloads at their intended deployment altitude of 440 kilometers above the Earth. So with just about 10 seconds until SES-2, let's watch. This will be a short one, only about 3 seconds of burn.
Only 3 seconds? So this will circularize it. This will raise the lowest point to match the altitude of 440 kilometers for now, I guess is. Here we go. Notice the speed goes up. There we go.
And back ignition. Shut down.
That was short. He almost couldn't even say it in time.
And there it is. That was short and sweet, but that was the second stage's second burn. SECO 2 just commenced. That's the second engine cut off too. Just waiting right now for confirmation that the second stage is in a good orbit. And we do have confirmation that the second stage is in a good orbit. So that completes the 2 of 2 burns for
Good
that second
orbit
stage.
insertion
We
for
are
payload
going to go to one more brief coast phase, only about 15 minutes. At about T plus 1 hour and 1 minute, we'll come back to guide you through payload deploy, just 15 minutes from now.
Sweet. All right. Well, we got to keep talking here. All right, so thank you again, Diamond Q. I'm going to turn my headphones down there. Muggsy, with all the content you create, do you ever have time to watch other YouTubers? Were you inspired by anyone specific to start your own channel? Muggsy, that's a good question. I tend to watch, a lot of times watch YouTube like at night maybe, but the problem is when I watch YouTube, like I want to learn something, so I typically reserve YouTube to my lunch or to meals. I'll sit and pop on something for like 10 to 20 minutes. So of course I like Scott Manley a lot. Scott Manley's always been a great resource. I mean, he is, I don't know how he does it. I have no idea how on earth that man keeps up with his job, his family, and then producing as many videos as he does. It's just nuts. And he can talk about things off the top of his head way better than I ever could. I mean, so I definitely like him. There's a lot of really good channels out there lately. I have a hard time keeping up. I just lately, once the Raptor video is done, I'll get back into like a normal 40 or 50 hour work week. Lately I've been like 60, 70, literally 80 hours last week, like every day for like 12 hours. So once I get back into a normal schedule, then yes, I will get back to kind of watching more YouTube videos. Yeah, I do have some time, and I think it's valuable, and I like to learn a lot. So YouTube's one of the best places for that because content comes out a lot quicker than anywhere else. So, all right. Misfit Fedora, thank you. Cameron Bentley, thank you. You just moved to Florida, and you just got to watch from your front door. Amazing. Thank you for everything you do. Looking forward to more launches. Dang, that's awesome. Congrats, Cameron. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, that's cool. We'll pull up that stack pic here in a second. That's awesome. I have not seen that. Very cool. Let's see. Let's keep going here. Mike BMCL, any ideas how many Starlinks can launch on a Heavy? It'd be the same amount. Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy use the same payload fairing. So it's literally the exact same, and they're volume constrained. They cannot make the fairing any bigger. Again, I went really deep into that on the podcast Our Ludicrous Future. So if you want to hear exactly why, that is why. It's volume constraint. They cannot make the fairing any bigger. It's not worth it to them to make it any bigger. So a Falcon Heavy would actually be limited to be able to launch the exact same number. If they had a bigger fairing, a Falcon Heavy could probably launch almost 3 times that many, but they're not and can't and won't do that. So yeah. All right. Michael, with all these Starlink sats in orbit, won't that make other launchers more difficult? It's hilariously, although it looks like a ton of satellites, when you see images like this where it looks like, oh, look at that satellite, don't hit it. It's really, 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 really hard to hit a satellite. If you look at a map of air traffic, you know, all airplanes flying, there's literally thousands of airplanes flying, and very rarely are you ever considering, it might be hard to fly because there's other airplanes in the sky. Like, there's a lot of space for airplanes. There's even literally more space, like the circumference and surface area as the altitude increases. And there's huge, orbits are all on different altitudes, different inclinations, and they're moving so fast, and they're really small. It's like a lot of these things are like not bigger than a refrigerator, or maybe, okay, some of them are like cars or semi-sized or bus-sized basically. But a lot of things aren't very big, and they're flying really fast, and there's a lot of space. So really, they're tracking everything. They know where everything is. They even know where debris clouds are. They keep track of all that stuff, and luckily it's predictable. Nothing will ever happen that's like all of a sudden the satellite's going, I'm going to go this way. Like, it can't. So, yeah, very, very predictable. Hopefully that helps answer that question. Let's see here. Great question though. Wayne, thank you very much. Pete, thanks Tim. Were you aware of the vertical turbo shafts? Your jaw dropped. You're the best, and keep it up, Tim Dodd. Thank you, Pete Martin. So you're referring to, thank you, good question. Yes, vertical turbo shafts. That's not that unusual. There's the RD-180 is vertical, the BE-4 is vertical, the Merlin's vertical. Yeah, Merlin's vertical. RS-25 had dual vertical shafts. That's normal. That's pretty normal. Yeah, I actually don't know if it's more rare, I think, to find a horizontal turbine and turbopump shaft. So what you're referring to, hold on, let me pull up something here for you guys. We don't need that anymore. Beep. I'll bet you anything. Watch this. I'll bet. Yeah, I know what I did there, and I don't like it. Hold on. 1 second here, the internet. Let me pull up just a little. What was I going to show you? That. Oh yeah. So I have these really cool renders. Raptor. Oh God, where is it? Okay, so we're gonna go down a little. Raptor allengines.psg. Okay, here we go. We are gonna go down a little rabbit hole here for just a second. So this is these are some renders by Martian Days, or is it Martin Days? Martian Days. that he came up with me for this Raptor video, and you can see here the shaft runs up and down, so you can tell the Raptor engine has shafts like this, the BE4 shaft like that, the turbine shaft of the RD-180 is there, the RS-25 is there, the F1 is there, the Merlin engine's there. They're all vertical. That's pretty normal. You guys, we don't really quite go into that per se, but yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you very much, Pete. Yeah, I hope that helps answers that question. Are you guys looking at the NOTAM? It looks like it. Yeah. Also, the vertical integration. I do want to take a look at this while we have a little interruption from myself. Let's see here. This is a picture of the Starlink satellites. That is just nuts. You can tell there's the solar panels there, all folded up. That's really cool. I cannot wait to see these things deploy in about 7 minutes. All right, let me do this quick. Get back here for you guys. Okay, Daniel, where was that? That looked like a good comment. Jeez, guys, I can't even keep up with you guys. Daniel, have fun in Texas. H-Town is getting a flown Falcon 9. Yes, Houston is getting a flown Falcon 9 to put on display at the museum, which is going to be absolutely amazing. That is Space Center Houston, which is the museum right outside of Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. Well, technically not Houston, but Houston, Texas. Houston, we have a problem. Houston. Which I'm really excited for. That'll be really cool. I am really excited to be able to get up close and personal with a flown Falcon 9. I think we'll get a lot closer to it than even when you're at SpaceX, because it'll be like on a stand, which will be really cool. Horizontal. Bradley, hey Tim, you mentioned in your podcast, Our Ludicrous Future, you're welcome for the plug, that the upper level winds affect Falcon 9 due to the slim design. Does the Falcon Heavy have the same problem? Bradley, great. So yes, we do talk about the fineness ratio of a Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. Fine is the ratio of width to length. The Falcon 9 is the finest vehicle ever made. You're welcome. At least rocket ever made, because it is the skinniest to longest. And that is one of its biggest limiting factors. And that is why you see it having problems with upper level winds. I don't know if you've ever heard of another rocket scrubbing or delaying because of upper level winds. You will hear that fairly often, or occasionally at least, from SpaceX. So, yeah, so the Falcon Heavy definitely has similar constraints. It might be able to handle some tolerances, and I'm sure the engineers know those exact numbers. It might be able to handle some tolerances, like going one way versus other directions, where it might be able to handle stronger wind shears, stronger changes in direction in the different layers of the atmosphere. I don't know, but it still probably has mostly that same limiting factor, and some of that limiting factor might be joints, like at the interstage or at the fairing or things like that. If you played Kerbal Space Program, I don't know, totally speculating, but good question. All right, let's see here. Tony, sorry guys, I'm trying to keep up with you guys. Tony, do you have any insight on what happened between Elon and OneWeb's Greg Weiler? Why didn't Elon continue working with him? Kind of feels like Elon screwed him over. Appreciate what you do. Tony, that's a really good question, and honestly, that's a subject that I really, unfortunately, don't have any context of. I don't actually know literally anything about that, so I'm not going to comment on it. I have no idea, to be honest. Yeah. seems kind of like that could be a potentially salty thing, so I have no idea. Sorry that I can't answer that question any better. Eric Hamilton, meet up in Utah. You're going to the test. Hey, yes, for sure. Let's do it. If I do make it out to the test, I will do a meetup. Let's hang out. Mike BMCL, do you think they'll launch future Starlinks on Falcon Heavy to launch more at once? Also, thanks. We kind of went over that a few times now. No, because the fairing is volume limited, not weight limited. It's not mass limited. It is volumetrically limited. Okay, Brian Gleason, I believe they said at TEVE, the satellite deployed. Nope, sorry, if you didn't, the SECO, the second engine ignition was at 45 minutes. The deployment is at 1 hour. Yeah, I'm excited to still see how this goes. Mac, thanks for your videos. Love learning from you. Thank you, Mac. Ben, will Starlink have the capability to do telemetry? Yes. If you're talking about so once Starlink is available, think about what SpaceX will be able to do. They'll be able to provide live coverage of every event. Like, there will be no more drone ship dropouts. We'll have wait. I don't know if I can say that, because one of the biggest problems with the drone ships is the ground link, or the being able to have a direct link back to a ground station without relaying it to a satellite. So maybe it won't work at all, but maybe it'll be better. The problem is plasma, as the vehicle's landing, develops a lot of plasma. There's a ton of interference. So shooting it up to a satellite, the video signal up to a satellite, gets really bad. But maybe Starlink having multiple satellites available within view will help that. I have no idea. We'll see. Great question, though. Chris K, have they done this before? Chance of success. They have never done a Starlink launch. And Elon even said he's not sure. It sounds like these satellites may bump into each other on deployment. It also sounds like we really have... they don't expect them. He basically said they might fail. All these satellites could fail, and they have no idea. But they're trying anyway, so we'll see how successful they are. We will see. Carl, this is the most important launch to date. Thanks for the coverage. Happy to be here. Hey, Carl, longtime friend. How are you? Thanks for being here, Carl. Yeah, hi. I'm very excited to see this thing deploy in 1 minute. Alan B., what was the violent-looking stuff during landing? That is plasma. That is, as the stage is coming back into the atmosphere starts to take its toll, and there's a lot of compression that the air will turn into plasma, gets really hot, and you can see that taking its effect and biting into the stage and making it all spicy. So yeah, that was violent because it was the furthest down range of any Falcon 9 so far. The Falcon Heavy might have been one of the spiciest landings, really, because Falcon Heavy did a full 1 minute re-entry burn. That did not do a minute re-entry burn. So the Falcon Heavy had so much spare delta V that they could probably slow down a lot before they hit the atmosphere. And so it might not have been as spicy. This may have been one of their spiciest ones. Good question. Das Bach, thank you. Renaud, sneaking in while at work to see if the mission went off. Good call. Jesse Hutchinson, how long until we see primarily Starlink service? Great question. Like I said, I think... Oh, deployment's coming up here soon. Like I said, 400, it'll be kind of operational-ish. 800, so like a dozen launches, we'll probably see a fair amount of coverage, but still not something that you could buy like yourself. It'll probably be a long time before you could actually purchase service. I'm guessing 2 years before any consumer has any way of interacting with Starlink. Total guess. Yeah. Happy Slartebart Fast. What is Starlink going to do for SpaceX stock? Well, SpaceX isn't a publicly traded company, but I think most of their private investors are clearly thinking this is phenomenal and basically printing money. So guys, notice, I knew it, is toppling end over end. Notice that the stage is not, people were thinking it was going to be rolling like this. It's not rolling, it's pitching. It's doing this. That's not roll. So they're going to deploy the satellites by literally going like this, and then just, and they're going to barf out the top of the stage. This is going to be very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and make myself tiny so we can actually see this. This is going to be nuts. End over end deployment. This would be cool. And NeuroStream. gear up your hardware to render your documentaries faster. Can't wait.
Starlink mission. Just for those of us joining us, we did have an on-time liftoff at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time from Cape Canaveral. That first stage was able to accelerate the second stage into orbit and then touch back down on the deck of Course I Still Love You. And then the second stage was able to complete its 2 scheduled burns. The second stage is now currently at the target deployment altitude of 440 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. As you can see on your screen right here, this is a beautiful view of those the stack of those Starlink satellites as they prepare for deployment. Deployment is scheduled for T plus 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Let's stand by and watch.
I'm going to have to thank NeuroStream a lot here in a second. Oh, come on. Some satellites might bump into each other. They've talked about that. How about we're missing the deployment? Looks like there's not coverage of it.
This brief loss of signal was expected. We should be able to get that video back very shortly. Stand by.
Starlink constellation deploy confirmed.
I want to see it. How about the...
And we have confirmation of deploy. You can hear the team in the background. This is an incredible moment for SpaceX. You can see those flat-packed Starlink satellites slowly gliding away from the top of the second stage. This is the highest number of satellites that SpaceX has ever deployed in a single time.
Interesting.
There are no deployment mechanisms between those spacecraft, so they really are just slowly fanning out like a deck of cards into space.
Crazy. That's so weird. And of course, the camera's getting further away, so although these are deploying from each other, you can't tell as much because of the perspective, because the camera here is falling away from all 60 satellites. So it looks kind of similar, but in real life, these are fanning out more and more and more. Like, like a deck of cards would be the best way to think of it. Like imagine if I had a deck of cards here, I would...
You can see those spacecraft starting to separate as they naturally glide away from each other.
That is so cool.
The sun is glinting pretty strongly off the panels and the bodies of those spacecraft, so it's tough to see them individually, but you can kind of see one breaking away from the pack right now. Those spacecraft will slowly disperse over time.
So if you guys want, let me know if you want me to do this. I'll recreate this in Kerbal real quick after this live stream ends.
With that successful deployment, we're going to be bringing the webcast to a close. For those of you who just caught the end here, we did have successful liftoff, successful first and second stage and activities, and then finally a beautiful deploy, as you can still see ongoing on your screen right now at 440 kilometers above the Earth. It's been a very exciting launch day today here at SpaceX, but we really are just getting started. Please, thank you to the 45th Space Wing for range safety and to the FAA for licensing today's launch, as well as the FCC for our first operational Starlink satellite licenses. We'd also like to thank all of our viewers for tuning in. Please follow our website and social media platforms for updates on our next missions and milestones. It's been an honor to host tonight's webcast. Have a good night.
Dang. Congrats, SpaceX. That was beautiful. We need to recreate this in Kerbal, as long as NeuroStream, who everyone tell NeuroStream huge thanks. That is going to help me literally get more gear and hopefully bring you guys even better coverage when I go see things like Starhopper. Thank you, NeuroStream. NeuroStream, let's pay attention. What does NeuroStream want? Does NeuroStream want some Kerbal? Because if NeuroStream wants Kerbal, NeuroStream's getting Kerbal tonight. I will tell you that. That was crazy. I've never seen anything like that. Again, please, everyone, send NeuroStream a thank you. That is crazy generous. Yeah. Thank you very, very much. You guys are... That's just nuts. Thank you. Hold on here while I get stuff going. I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to get going. It's Kerbal. I'm going to get Kerbal going. I'm going to get Kerbal going. I'm not going to tell you. I'm getting Kerbal going. That's what I'm getting going. only you guys had any idea what I was doing over here. I'm getting Kerbal going. All right. So, I'm getting this fired up here. NeuroStream, again, seriously, thank you. Seriously, thank you. Okay, Yasir, thank you also. Jason Waits, Starlink equals fully funded SpaceX, Tesla, etc. Love all your work you put into your content. Lots of info, fun to watch. Well, thanks, Jason. Yeah, you're right. Starlink, I think, is literally what is going to make Starship be possible and getting to Mars possible. I 100% believe that. Dang. I'm still like kind of speechless. Happy Slarty Bart Fast. Are you watching the birth of Skynet? Are we watching the birth of Skynet? Even if not, this is a big deal for the future of humanity. You're absolutely right. This is a huge deal. I think we'll look back at this as like, oh yeah, remember there used to be a time where you didn't just have like high-speed internet absolutely everywhere at all times, and it'll be like, oh yeah, Starlink. That is a big turning point. Chaim Matlos. Why does the reflective Mylar foiler around the engine puff when the engine fires? Is there some kind of outgassing from the engine operation? There is. There still will be venting. Occasionally have to be venting oxygen, liquid oxygen, as it boils off. Also, there could be some RCS down there. I'm not exactly sure what's exactly puffing out around the Mylar foil during engine ignition and even during coasting, but I think it is some kind of venting and or purging and or things like that. Good question. I'll see if I can find the exact answer to that. Hugh, thank you. No clue if this is an AUD or USD. Love the broadcast. Well, thank you very much, Hugh. I don't. It says A. I don't know what that means though. Australian dollar, I'm assuming. But thank you. Sheamus B, Tim, love your content. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Wayne Fox, thank you so much. Travis, thank you. We're getting caught up, and then we'll get to Kerbal, and then I'm going to keep working on this video so I can get it out for you guys this weekend. Wayne, thank you. Travis, you think internet will replace phone lines soon? Oh, of course. Of course. I think it pretty much has already, especially once we have a internet constellation like this. I don't even think we'll need Cat 5 soon. That's kind of the hope. So it can actually be faster than Cat 5 because Cat 5, or not Cat 5, sorry. Fiber optic loses, it goes about half the speed of light, and Starlink will be able to go the speed of light. So for some operations, it could potentially be faster than fiber optic, than dedicated fiber optic even. Rachel, silly question, are the Starlink sats going to be focused over major landmasses or space globally to cover remote places? That's not a silly question, that's a great question. So they will be covered on like depending on your altitude, your inclination. So like very north, I don't think it will cover the North Pole, I don't think it will cover the South Pole, but eventually it will cover basically all of the world. So it won't matter where you are, and it definitely will help in rural places. But at first it'll be probably mostly concentrated around the equator, I think, because it'd be hard to do an inclination, a high inclination. I don't exactly know, to be honest. And it might be partial coverage until that point. But yeah, the point is that it will definitely do everything. Cover the entire Earth, at least where anyone would live. So good question. Justin Daly, I want to see the drone ship equipped with a drone copter connected to Starlink that lifts off and captures the landing from air. Justin, that's definitely one of those, like, why don't they just things? And, you know, the reality is, no matter how good of a quadcopter it is or hexacopter or whatever, flying it, crew, you know, you have to be within operational distance of it. You don't want to risk a $30 million piece of hardware. It's kind of what it comes down to. That's my understanding of why they haven't done, you know, remote drones and stuff like that. You don't want to have a radio frequency anywhere near this thing while it's flying, because not only could the rocket interfere potentially with its radio and uplink and all that stuff anyway, but what if all of a sudden it causes it to go haywire and all of a sudden you have this massive, you know, drone flying right at your $30 million piece of hardware? It's just not worth it for 4 seconds of video. Like, the risk is literally that you could lose a $30 million thing to show people 4 seconds of video when they can release that footage at any time they want after the fact, because it is recorded locally. So I'm okay with them not doing a live stream at the risk of the booster and the hardware. And I think that's what the engineering decision comes down to at the end of the day. But good question. Jason, Thank you. And Chip, thank you. And Matthew, I think you're Neurostream and go for Kerbal. Thank you, Neurostream, and go for Kerbal. All right, I've got this up here, so I'll get this going here in a second. Let me just finish these so I can get to Kerbal. Lucky Meower, howdy from Wyoming. Love your broadcast. Will Starship have an abort system, or will it be so safe that it won't need one? Lucky, that is one of my upcoming videos. So stay tuned. I don't really want to get into it. Short answer, no, there will not be an abort system. I will do a very deep rundown on why that is. It's an interesting debate, and it's a debate too. It'll be my opinion alongside with kind of some data and some engineering decisions. But short answer, no. I will give you a very long answer within the next month or two. So yeah. So thank you again, Lucky. Ryan, super excited about your new Raptor video. Oh, so am I, seriously. Greg, thank you very much. World Aviation News. Hey, Tim, love the stream. How awesome that Starlink deploy happens just in space from south of us in Australia. That was cool. It was cool that it takes off the United States and deployed over Australia. Like, that's just nuts to think about. Only an hour later. That's why I cannot wait until I absolutely can't wait until Starlink or until Starship starts doing point-to-point transportation. That'll be amazing. Soccer Boy 22, how will the internet work? Can the average person use it or only to duration people? Good question, Soccer Boy 22. Really, at first, most likely internet providers will link up to Starlink and then divvy it out from there. But eventually, I think literally you could call up Starlink, call up SpaceX and say, hey, I want Starlink. They'll deliver you a pizza box size thing. You literally plug it into an outlet, make it so it can see most of the sky. It'll automatically do the rest from there. Done. You plug in a Cat5 cable to that, and you're connected to Starlink. That's the goal within 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That will be what the end user, you and I, will experience. And then it just literally points itself at the flying satellites and links up, and it's beautiful. Randy, what is going on tonight? Have fun in the RGV watching Starhopper. I don't even know what an RGV is, but Randy, everyone tell Randy thank you. Thank you, Randy and Neurostream. Jeez, guys. I don't even know what RGV is, but I will have all the fun there thanks to you. Dang. Thank you very, very much. Everyone say thank you. All right, and Nico, I'm a fanboy of SpaceX and Tesla. Then you should definitely be listening to and or watching Our Ludicrous Future, because that's all we talk about. Thank you from Message Retracted. Aaron, thanks, Tim, you're welcome. Frederico, we're almost caught up. James, any chance of a Starlink t-shirt with the Viet corn cop stack? Oh, geez, that would have been a better one, honestly. That would have been the perfect corn deployment. Although it didn't deploy like corn, it deployed like a deck of cards. Corn joke might not have worked that well. But thanks, James. I don't know. That's a good question. And again, thank you, Federico, and Arzuvio something, Arzuvio. Thank you. You have the best and most fun YouTube channel about space stuff. Lots of love and keep up the great work. Thank you very much. That really means a lot. And now, ladies and gentlemen, guess what we're going to do? We're going to whip up the quickest and dirtiest rocket that we possibly can to show you guys how Starlink was just deployed only but a few minutes ago. For those of you just now tuning in, yes, it deployed. Yes, it deployed successfully. And now we're going to just make a really crappy version and just deploy it and show you guys. Actually, you know what? I'm not even going to bother launching because I want to get back to work. So we're just going to stick a stage in here and cheat this thing into orbit. And then I forget, they changed the layout on me and I am still confused every single day of my life. Throw some RCS on this so we can spin it up. Something about like this. We're still going to stick an engine on it because, you know, you got to have an engine. Okay. And then just for fun, I'm going to just stack, let's see, we need the nodes on. But I think I still have to put, I can't make it deploy without decouplers, can I? Stack separators, right? Even though I want it just to deploy on its own. I don't want this truss structure either. Truss structure off. Someone asked, when can we buy 27 Merlins? That's a really good question, honestly. I kind of forgot about it, to be honest. I got really busy and kind of stopped trying, but I'll get that up there soon. 27 Merlins, for those of you that don't know, I wrote a song, a whole score that timed out exactly with all the events of Falcon Heavy, the demo launch at least. And so literally like every second of that launch is represented in the music without it being, the video is not edited in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, oops. And it was a really fun challenge. So if you like music and you like Falcon Heavy, I suggest watching that. Okay, so this is just going to be, just so we get a sense of the physics here. This obviously, they're a lot tighter packed, but I'm just going to build this fairing real quick. Actually, I shouldn't even build the fairing. Yeah, we're just going to do this. I could also, to make it look, okay, here, I'm going to make it so you can, so it looks more like it. We're going to do this. Yeah, this will make sense. Oh yeah, they aren't linked. I'm so used to things in like video editing where they're linked. I can't wait to be done talking so my throat doesn't hurt from talking too much. And I also really want to finish this Raptor video, so I'm going to do this as quick as I can. Like this. You get the idea. This is kind of how they're stacked. Obviously, they're split in half. They're little rectangles. And here we go. Did I send my name to Mars? No, I haven't done that yet. But you can send your name to Mars on Mars 2020. Look it up. Send my name to Mars. I don't know. Frederico, did they do simulations for the Kessler syndrome? It's not necessarily, I'm sure someone has. I don't think SpaceX needs to do that. That's more other people's jobs. Set orbit, Kerbin. Sure. Okay, we have officially cheated this thing into orbit. Are you guys ready for this? I'm just going to do this as quick as possible. We don't need any of that. Here we go. So we're going to spin this baby up. It was spinning like this, literally end over end. And then when they deploy, it was something like this. Now notice how it ends up looking like a deck of cards. And that extra rotational mass is what could have potentially hit. I'm going to follow some of these. And this is how it deployed. What do you guys think? Pretty exciting, right? And then you'll see that it's spread out more and more all the time. Yeah. There we go. That's how Starlink is deployed, essentially. What do you guys think? It was not spinning around. It tumbled end over end. It did not spin. So it did not do, it did this. It did not spin on its z-axis. It was either yawing or pitching. I'll just say pitching on its x-axis. Like this. That's how it deploys. Yeah. Now you know. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to keep working because I'm trying to get work done because my goal is to have this thing out tomorrow. I don't know if that's going to happen. So I might stay up all night. So, yeah. So Discord channel, I hope you guys are ready because I'm going to be going mildly insane as I try to finish this video. So I hope you're ready to keep me company. If you guys want to join the Discord channel and potentially keep me company and sane this evening, consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/everydayastronaut where you can sign up there to be a Discord member. And guys, like I said, really soon I will have the very much updated web store with way more merch, including Gridfin Nautic coasters back in stock. A little updated, revised tweak to them, so they might be they're going to be a little different. And we'll see how that turns out. But we are getting a lot of new shirts, a lot of new cool merch, a lot of new accessories. Yeah, get ready. So stop in there, though. Again, we have discounted and free domestic shipping on anything over 100 and discounted international shipping on all items over 100, all things over 100. Riley, thank you. And David, thank you. Riley, thank you. Good night to you, Riley. Thank you so much for last minute. Yeah, you guys are awesome. I owe a really big thank you to we had Riley and Randy and NeuroStream. You guys, crazy. Thank you guys so much, and thank you to all of you guys for joining me on this awesome launch. Congrats again, SpaceX, and thank you guys for hanging out with me. I'm really glad that we ended up being able to have a decent stream. Sorry for the little tiny bit of internet problems. Hopefully that never, ever, ever, ever happens again, and I'll try my hardest to make sure that is the case. So, oh, Rio Grande Valley. Thank you, Randy. Okay, so the southern tip of Texas and Boca Chica. Thank you again, Randy. You're the best. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Hey, NeuroStream. Yes, in our Discord channel. Yes. All right, you'll see more clips in the Discord. Thank you again, NeuroStream, and thank you. Geez, Greg Z Citizen. Jeez, guys? What are you doing? Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you guys. I'll make you the best video I can, and it'll hopefully drop this weekend. I'm gonna make darn sure I get as much stuff going out tonight. So, thank you. All right. That's gonna do it for me, guys. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. We'll see you soon. Bye, guys.